윈저 캐슬, 윈저 캐슬, 윈저 캐슬. Lancaster and York, House of Lancaster, Henry 4, Henry 5, Henry 6, House of York, Edward 4, Edward 5, Richard 3. Lancaster and York. King Edward's immediate successor were content in the castle as the founded. His grandson King Richard II told his clerk of the works, who happened to surprisingly to be the poet of Chaucer, to repair the chapel, but little or nothing seemed to have been done. King Edward's splendid quadrangle was the setting for the great court of chivalry summoned by King Richard in 1398, which led to the banishment of Henry, Duke of Hertford, soon to return and seize the throne as King Henry IV, an act of usurpation which eventually led to the Wars of the Roses. Perhaps for this reason, the new king showed little affection for the place. His son King Henry IV was preoccupied for most of his reign with wars in France, and the pious King Henry VI preferred to spend his money on his religious and scholarly foundation of Eton College across the river and King's College and Cambridge. So, it's not surprising to learn that at this time, for the fault of curvature lanes within diverse and many places of our castle at Windsor were, through the same place, fallen in great and ruinous decay. It was left to that unfortunate monarch's successor, King Edward IV, at whose bidding he probably met his death, to replace King Henry III's now dilapidated chapel with a house for the deity, which for the first time bore comparison with the magnificence of the sovereign apartment. King Edward also intended the new structure of outdo the fine chapel which his fallen rival had erected across the river at Eton, and even took a preliminary step to dissolve the foundation of Eton College itself and merge it with that of St. George's at Windsor, a course in which he did not, fortunately, persist. The building which he started in 1475, but which was not completed for 50 years, is one of the finest examples of that peculiarly English style called perpendicular, and the principal glory of the castle. Left. The quadrangle in the upper wall showing the building erected by King Edward III in the 14th century, shortly before their reconstruction by King Charles II. King Edward's state apartments are on the left of the upper illustration. The lower illustration shows the round tower with the southwest corner of the state apartment on the right, the drawing by Winchester Holler. Facing page. A anonymous portrait of 15th century kings of England which have probably been in the royal collection since the reign of King Henry VIII. also a strong Flemish influence and may have come from the same workshop. That of King Edward IV seemed to have been painted from life. Edward IV seemed to have been painted from life. The source of other likenesses have not been established. The portraits above are King Henry VI left. The King Henry V. Those below are of King Edward IV, and King Richard III. Above. The interior of St. George's Chapel in 1819, looking westward from the altar, watercolor by C. Wilde. During repair of the chapel in 1921 to 30, the elegant organ case shown here. Which was designed by Harry Allen and presented by King George III, was replaced by a new arrangement divided into two parts and placed one either side of the screen, so that the full length of the vaulted roof can now be seen from either end of the chapel without obstruction. Right. And a new knight of Garter is creates a gilt metal plate with engraved and enameled or painted in color with his armorial bearings and affixed to the back of his stole. The magnificent array of this stole plate, which date from the 14th century to the present day, form an assemblage of original heraldic work without parallel in this medium. The earliest plates are those cut to the shape of the design. Facing page. The modern photograph of the choir of the St. George's Chapel looking east, the first part of the chapel to be constructed. It was wall but finished with a wooden roof, and the death of its founder, King Edward IV, in 1483. The fine vault was added just over 20 years later by King Henry VII. The banner of the Witch Knight of the Garter, bearing his coat of arms, hanging above his stole. Beneath which banner and above the canopy above the stole stand his crest. Below the canopy, some of the gilt stole plate, see below, can just be discerned. The vault beneath the inscribed stone in the center of the foreground contains the remains of King Henry VIII, the third wife Queen Jane Seymour, King Charles I, and the infant child of Queen Anne. To the left of the west window, 1863, stand a wooden oriel, built by Henry VIII to enable his first queen, Catherine of Aragon, to attend Mass in privacy. It was put to a similar purpose by Queen Victoria after the death of her husband in 1861. Above. This watercolor by Sanghyun Na she saw the scene outside St. George's Chapel on a Sunday morning in 1840. The choir emerged from the horseshoe cloister on its way to morning service. The congregation assembled outside the south porch, and the military band played on the grass. Military knights in their scarlet uniform and cocked hat mingled with others moving toward the chapel. Left. Erected in 1359-60 by King Edward III as a belfry for the predecessor of the present St. George's Chapel. The tower in the center of this 18th century watercolor by Paul Sandby has been the residence of the governor of military knight since the days of Mary Tudor. To the left of the tower stand lodging built for the clergy at the same time, and allotted by Queen Mary to the knights.